Hey, welcome guys back to Music Maverick channel. Maverick here, and today we're going to be watching episode 4 of Bakemonogatari. So, with this episode, we're still in the midst of the Mayoi snail arc, or snail Mayoi arc, or whatever it's called, or, in regards to the character of Mayui, right? Honestly, I'm still not entirely sure what this series is going to be like, but I suspect at the end of this arc, I'll have a better, grasp of how things are going to go, as the story moves on, right? Hopefully, anyways. And in regards to Mayuri herself, I think it might be a play on words on her name, how she's lost, and how she's called Mayui, because Mayu means lost in Japanese and whatnot. But that's just an early guess, right? And Snail, she's got this big backpack. Probably there's going to be a pun or something related there as well. For the rest, though, let's just jump into the episode and find out. Alright, let's begin in 3, 2, 1, play. Mayo. Mm. Okay, so a snail is leading her astray, I guess. And of course, we still got this really weird song. Well, I've been convinced by you guys to not cut this, right? So, but I don't really know what to say here. One of my viewers left a comment that I can probably use this time to do the usual, channel promotions and whatnot. So I normally try to avoid doing that, but well, I guess like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. I wonder if there being like multiple copies of herself is significant in any way. Yeah, like why are there so many of her, right? Why are there so many Mayuis? Is that significant somehow? Spring vacation, attacked by vampire, blah blah blah. I assume this is talking about Araragi. I wonder if this series would work better as just a movie. Man, I love the camera movements. Why is she afraid of her? Yeah, when did you guys get so good with each other? What? Mm. Okay. I mean, shouldn't high schoolers understand what PTA is? Although I guess Japanese students might not. What? Really? Oh, that's a fake bill. No, it doesn't. That's kind of funny. Arararagi-san. I mean, I'm assuming that perhaps I should be finding clues within this dialogue, which will eventually lead to her condition? Hmm? When this music comes out, you know something's happening. Out of jealousy? 'Are you gonna tell me it's actually her? Whether they're human or not. Hmm. Dun-dun. You have reached the Twilight Zone. Okay, that was a little bit over the top, right? Tsundere. Something. Look at that Shindo angle. Ooh. But she can't reach it? What? Holy shit, he's bleeding. Ooh. I like how there's just a body behind. What? As her memories reset again. Hmm? Oh, she saw? This girl has some supernatural powers as well, right? Misunderstanding. Of course, that's not what Yayoi means. It's BL, boys love. Wow. Okay, so this is going back to the very beginning. Really? What's with the shoot about all of a sudden? Alright, come on. No, I don't. Okay. I don't think my Japanese is good enough to break this down just like that. +1. +1. That's it? What in the world is going on? Ugh. Ugh. Alright. Let me check if there's anything at the very end there. If not, I'll see you guys in a second. Alrighty, there was a preview at the very end there, but I decided to put it into video. Don't worry, I did see it. It's just that there's nothing really much for me to say about it. It's just as confusing as always, much like the main episode as well, right? So, lots of things happening, not really sure how much of it is relevant, how much is important and whatnot. Personally, you know, I do still have I was able to formulate a few theories in regards to her condition, just judging from the dialogue of this episode, right? Now, one critical thing here that I'm not really sure if I'm understanding correctly is, was she able, like, is it a case where she wasn't able to reach the place she wanted to go even before meeting the snail, right? It seems from the dialogue here that the oddity, the snail in this case, or the it's not a snail now, it's a what? Wait, what was its actual but anyways, the oddity, right? The oddity. It doesn't seem to be a case where the oddity is causing the problem here, right? It could be that she had already had this problem and the oddity simply detected this kind of behavior from her, and that's why the oddity decided to manifest itself in front of her. Her being Mayoi, right? So with this in mind, there's 3 different kinds of things where I feel it could potentially be an explanation to her situation, right? The first one is probably the least probable, but I'm just going to say it anyways, and that is being lost in life, right? Her parents divorced, her whole world came crashing down. Maybe she's experiencing some problems coping with this kind of development, right? So that's a possibility. Personally, I think that's the least likely because it's not really exciting or whatnot. But I'm just gonna throw it out there as well, right? The second part would be a little bit more morbid, and that is that her mom is actually dead, right? So she's in another place, if you will. And so that's why, and perhaps it's a case of Mayoi not really wanting to face this reality and whatnot, and so, she's deliberately avoiding, she deliberately avoided going back to her house, and yet, later on, the oddity came, and so now it's a case where she can't get to that destination, but now there's a supernatural barrier preventing her from going as well, right? So that would be my second direction. And the third direction is perhaps she was hurt, talking about this whole thing about being abandoned. Perhaps it's a possibility that she feels she was abandoned by her mom in a certain case, and then the rest is similar to the second kind of prediction, right? So originally she had this mental block in her that caused her to not really want to face her mom, and so it's not a case that she physically couldn't get to the location, but she was finding excuses for herself, and then this eventually attracted this oddity here, and then the oddity made this sort of not waiting to face the reality, instead being reinforced by the supernatural powers, right? So now she really can't reach it, even if she wants to. So those are the three different predictions or theories I have in regards to Mayu's situation. Not really certain on any of those, but I would say the latter two would probably be more likely here. Beyond that, there was a little bit more information at the beginning here. I did pause through all of the dialogue. So it talked about Aragi becoming a vampire, and and also being healed of it, or being cured of it, whatever you want to call it. But now he's indebted to provide blood to apparently some other character every single month, right? And he still has the very great vision of his. So that's some supplementary info, I guess. They also talk about Senjugahara and why she felt so indebted to Aragi, mainly because Senjugahara maintained her kind of situation for 2 years, and so that took on a huge toll on her. So that's why she's extra grateful towards Aragi, even though it doesn't seem like that. It doesn't seem like that much, just from what we've seen so far, right? And then I guess lastly, talk a little bit about Hanekawa. No, I definitely feel like she also has an oddity with her as well. And if some other work, if we're going by how it normally progresses with some other works, I would be guessing that she would be the last or next to last one to come out and allow Aragi to help solve her problem, right? But yeah, just putting it out there for now. As for the rest of the episode, right, I did mention I still enjoyed the numerous camera cuts. It helped spice up the scenes, and it's overall just a very artsy series, right? In this episode in particular was also quite artsy as well. It's kind of vague, like it's kind of how should I call it? There's nothing really concrete about the scenes that they're showing. I don't think, like, I don't watch that and think, oh, there's lots of deeper meaning behind this and whatnot. I'm sure that you can derive some if you want to, but for the most part, I didn't really get that kind of feeling immediately, right? And I feel like if you're trying to dig deep for this kind of feeling, then perhaps it didn't really do its job here. But I still enjoyed it. It kept things spiced. I've mentioned this in the last episode as well. This is a very dialogue heavy anime, as you guys have been telling me, and indeed these camera cuts are necessary to keep the viewer interest, right? Now, what I do think is a little bit excessive are in the facial expressions, right? Now, again, stemming from what I just said, of course I know that they're trying to, put all these different animations and these weird facial expressions and whatnot in an effort to keep our attention and so on and so forth. But I just feel like, it's being a little bit overused to the point where, you're building up a lot of this kind of suspense, even though perhaps the dialogue, what they're actually talking about, are very trivial things, right? So I do think that it's a little bit overused now, and especially since I'm already noticing in episode 4, hopefully it's going to not be as prominent in the future episodes, right? So yeah, that's basically my review for Bakemonogatari episode 4. As usual, let me know if I missed anything or whatnot. And if not, I will be seeing you guys next time. Although, a little bit of a heads up, I am traveling next week, so traveling for work next week, traveling abroad to other countries. So normally I try to pre-record this stuff, especially since this is out of season, but I really don't know if I have the time over the weekend to pre-record it. So worst case scenario, you guys might need to wait for a few days, potentially up to a week before my next episode, right? And I mean from the normal upload time, so potentially I don't know, 8-10 days or up to 2 weeks from now. So, just a heads up for you guys. I know it sucks, but, such is life. C'est la vie. And so, yeah, there we go. Hopefully, I will see you guys soon. Until then, bye-bye.